Breaking right now, the cover-up over Prince Harry's drug use is in full force. The US administration, even under Donald Trump, doesn't want to cause any issues for King Charles and Prince William, but what it means is that Harry's drug use is again hidden from public view. I mean, let me show you, because quite literally hidden. The immigration documents, which were released to great fanfare yesterday, are simply full of redaction after redaction, meaning we have no idea whether Prince Harry lied on these documents. But as I have said all along, I believe he did. I believe the man was stupid enough to think he would have full protection from the Biden administration, which is why he could go on his autobiography Spare and boast about taking illegal drug after illegal drug after illegal drug, including in Courtney Cox's American home, and not receive any consequences. By the way, this is special treatment for Prince Harry, who, by the way, just coincidentally happened to be paparazzi'd today on his day of triumph, or at least how he's trying to present it. And this is total special treatment, which most celebrities don't get. After Nigella Lawson was pictured apparently taking drugs, she was banned from the United States, even though there was no criminal action against her whatsoever. Niall Gardner, the head of the Heritage Foundation, who has been leading the charge on this, posted on X, "There is zero accountability and transparency in the heavily redacted documents released today. The American people have a right to know whether Prince Harry lied regarding his extensive illegal drug use on his US immigration application." Father Calvin Robinson, as a man who has quite recently had to deal with US immigration, which quite rightly, by the way, is really tough and doesn't just let any old person in, the total opposite to our approach here in the UK. How has Harry got away with this? Why is he being protected yet again?
All right, folks, this is insane. Prince Harry admitted to illegal drug use in his own book. Yet somehow his US visa records have been heavily redacted. Yes, you heard that right. We've been waiting for these documents to reveal whether Harry lied on his visa application. And what did we get? Blacked out pages. Let's be clear. If any ordinary person admitted to drug use and then tried to get a US visa, they would be denied. But Prince Harry? Protected by the White House. Why are Harry's records redacted? What's being hidden? Did Harry lie on his US visa application? Is the Biden administration protecting him?
Because of his status, quite simply. And I think you pointed out that the president, Donald Trump, does not want to upset the King, Charles III. And I think that's quite a good position for him to be in. We still do have good relations between the US and the UK. For now, at least, Sir Keir Starmer hasn't managed to thwart that, even though most of his front bench have said very disparaging remarks against the president in the past. They're willing to kiss his shoes now that he's in office and that they are somehow in office. But yeah, I don't think the president wants to rock the boat on that situation. I don't think we'll find out whether Prince Harry lied or didn't lie, but we will constantly be speculating about this. If he did lie, even then, I don't know if he'd be deported. It would be such bad international relations to deport a prince back to England. Although we don't want him back in the UK anyway, so I don't know why we're pushing for this. But I suppose it's just the hypocrisy of all, isn't it? It's that if you're a liberal, progressive, wokey, you're fine to do whatever you want. You know, I almost got I got my visa revoked just for saying my heart goes out to you, and some bad faith actors reported me to the US government and in London, the US embassy in London, and I got my visa revoked. So if you're on the right of politics, you're treated one way, but if you're on the left of politics, you're often treated another way. And it's this two-tiered hypocrisy that I think annoys most people.
Well, indeed, because this is the point that Niall Gardner is making, that Trump has put at the heart of his administration the need for the borders to be completely protected. Mass deportations are a happening thing in the US, and JD Vance is such a big proponent of this as well. And so all Niall Gardner is saying is, okay, the rules have to apply to everyone. including Prince Harry. Now, he actually appeared, this is Niall Garner of the Heritage Foundation, which is leading the charge on this. He appeared on Kevin O'Sullivan's talk show just after the redacted files were released. Watch. Interesting that Niall Garner, he's a really good man, by the way. He's doing great work here. Huge respect for him. Interesting, he still holds hope. And what's clear is that the Heritage Foundation aren't just prepared to back away and say this is a victory to Prince Harry. They're going to keep going with this.
Yeah, I have a lot of time and respect for Niall Garden. I've worked with him on Heritage on a few things in the past. Very good man. Obviously, he worked for the late, great Margaret Thatcher as well. But I disagree with him on this. I'm not sure that releasing someone's private application details to the public is the best thing to do. I think the US need to look into this. The US authorities need to look into this. And if Prince Harry is found guilty, then yeah, absolutely, he should be treated the same way as everyone else. But I'm not entirely convinced it's a public matter for his, at least in terms of his documents being released. I get that it's a public matter in terms of the conversation because he wrote about it in his book that he'd done illegal activities in come to America. So there's a fine line there. I really don't like the idea of taking private information and private documents and releasing them unless there's a real national interest.
At this point, the American people deserve answers. And here's where things get even worse. Harry is getting special treatment that other celebrities never got. Take Nigella Lawson, the world-famous TV chef. She was banned from the US after admitting to using cocaine, even though she was never charged with a crime. So why is Prince Harry being allowed to stay in the US when he admitted to using cocaine, psychedelics, and marijuana multiple times in his own book? Nigella Lawson was banned. Why is Harry getting a pass?
I guess the argument here, though, Father Calvin, is that Harry was the one who made all of this so public. And I think we do just have to remember for a moment quite how stupid this guy was and how arrogant he was. And a lot of it was because under the Biden administration, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle believed they were untouchable. We now learn that he donated, or through their Archewell Foundation, they donated $250,000 to Ashley Biden, Joe Biden's daughter. Why? What on earth were they doing? Trying to buy influence, I would argue. She, Ashley Biden, has now been referred to the IRS over that donation. And Harry, in so many ways, is the architect of all of his own issues. So, for example, in Spare, this vile autobiography where he completely destroyed his relationship with the royal family forever, by the way. But in Spare, he also decided to reveal his kill count in Afghanistan to the world at the same time that he was decrying the fact he had lost his security. Well, immediately releasing his kill count in Spare made him a massive Taliban and ISIS target, Al-Qaeda target. Then, just on a personal level, the fact that he exposed Courtney Cox, the Friends actress, for handing drugs out at her home is not a wise thing to do, is it, if you want to be trusted? I mean, for Harry, all of this was a joke, but Courtney Cox has had to deny his claims to Variety, saying, I'm not saying there were mushrooms, I definitely wasn't passing them out, because he's actually put his so-called friends at risk as well.
I see what he did there, put his friends at risk. No, I mean, the whole thing is imprudent, isn't it? He's clearly shown himself not just to be untrustworthy, but to be very unwise. The whole book was a mistake. We all saw that from the beginning. I remember when we had to read through that. Oh my goodness. Back when Dan Wootton was on another platform. But it's done. It's out there in the open. And so I'd like for him to move on and apologize and say, I will no longer leak any personal private information about my family. I'll no longer disparage the royal family, the firm, as he calls it. I'll no longer badmouth my friends or talk ill of them. I'd like him to move past it, because otherwise this is going to drag on, and people are going to want more and more information, and people do want to know the truth. And if you say, look, I did illegal activities and I still got into the US, they're going to want to know, well, why and how is that allowed for you but not for me?
But Father Calvin, what is the path for Prince Harry now? I mean, I know obviously you're a religious man, you're a man who believes in redemption, but this is a guy who destroyed the final months and years on Earth of the late Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. That is something that on a personal level I find unforgivable, and I believe most British people now find that unforgivable too. But in America, even the left wing have woken up to the insanity, the ridiculousness, the gaslighting of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I mean, if you look at her most recent Netflix series, With Love, Meghan, the reviews were bad from everyone. And by the way, not just bad, not just saying that this was a bad TV show, Calvin, saying that this woman is completely delusional, completely out of touch with reality. This was coming from publications like The Guardian, from publications like the San Francisco Chronicle, her team, her people. So what is the future path now for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? Can he receive redemption?
Harry's drug use was public. So why is U.S. immigration ignoring it? Is this another case of royal privilege protecting him? At this point, it's blatant favoritism. If it were anyone else, they'd be on the next plane back to the UK. Now, the big question: could Prince Harry actually be deported? According to U.S. immigration law, if Harry lied about his drug use on his application, he could face deportation. And guess what? Lying on a visa application is a serious offense. The Heritage Foundation is demanding transparency, and if Harry's visa was granted under false pretenses, this could turn into a major legal battle. Did Harry lie to U.S. immigration? Could he be deported? Legal experts say this is a serious issue. Why is no one acting on it? Is the White House covering this up to protect the royals? At this point, the American public deserves to know the truth. And now let's talk about Meghan, because if Prince Harry's visa scandal explodes, this could be devastating for their brand. Think about it. If Harry's visa is revoked, he would be forced to leave the US. And Meghan? Would she go with him or would she leave him behind? Remember, Meghan has spent years branding herself as an independent woman. If Harry is deported, does anyone actually believe she'll leave Hollywood for him? If Harry is forced to leave the US, will Meghan stay or go? Could this visa scandal destroy their entire brand? Is Meghan already preparing her next move?
He can, absolutely. I think the problem is that he met a woman with a Jezebel spirit who has been toxic since day one, broken down his relationships with everyone that he loved and everyone that was important in his life, broken down his relationship with his country for her own ambitions, and it's a great shame to see that happen. I don't know if their paths will continue together, but even if they separate or divorce eventually, I think he needs to repent publicly for what he's done while he's been with her, and the British people are very forgiving. I do think we'll forgive him once he shows contrition. And then he needs to, just be a good father and stay out of the public eye, look after his kids, raise them as best as he can, because he knows he had a troubling childhood, and he should be focusing on giving his kids the best possible childhood that he can. And that should be his priority, not the latest front cover of another American magazine, not going on another tour with Meghan Markle, not doing more podcasts and media stuff. He should just be a good father to his family. He should apologize to his nation and make amends and move on and just live a quiet, chaste life.
I know. I think that is good advice. I think the problem is, Father Calvin, let's just be completely brutal about it, these two are pulling in completely different directions. So Harry, he does genuinely believe he wants to do good. Now, I would argue he's not really prepared to put the work in, and he isn't really... He's a royal, so he didn't really know the work that was required, put it that way. However, he was sold a bit of a lie by Meghan Markle, who told him that he was going to be able to keep doing that. They were going to make lots of money and they weren't going to have to sell their soul. And unfortunately, that's not how it works in Hollywood. If you want to be paid literally tens of millions of dollars, then you do have to sell your life. You do have to become like the Kardashians.
What they want. Do they want to be celebrities? Do they want to be famous and rich? Or do they want to be happy and content? And there is a difference. And I think all along they've been telling us they want to be content, they want a good family life, but at the same time they've been acting in the exact opposite, looking for more fame, looking for more fortune. They can't have it both ways, and I think they're going to find this out sooner or later. I'm hoping for Harry's sake that he finds it out sooner. Like I say, I can't see their paths sticking together forever, unfortunately. I think the Jezebel that he's married wants something entirely different from what he wants, even though he seems to think they want the same thing. It's not true.
And Father Calvin, do you think it's going to be difficult for Prince Harry to survive this term of Donald Trump and JD Vance? Because, they're unpredictable, is what I'm saying. They're unpredictable. And it's all well and good that Trump is saying right now, okay, I'm not actually going to deport that guy. But all it takes is a few more attacks from Harry and Meghan on things like the First Amendment for him to change his mind.
That's a good point. So I've been thinking diplomatically, Trump doesn't want to do or say anything to upset his relations with the United Kingdom. So he's been looking to be careful with King Charles' son. However, you make a good point that Harry and Meghan continue to badmouth Donald Trump and his policies. And so if they continue to do that and he has this over them, perhaps he will say at some point enough is enough and go through with some kind of deportation or revocation of their visa, or he could leave them in a very sticky situation. So I suppose if they want to remain in the States, it'd be in everyone's best interest for them to go quiet.
Father Calvin Robinson, get back to your sunbed, enjoy Mar-a-Lago, and goodness me, I'm jealous. I want to hear all about it. I want to hear all of the gossip. Thank you so much.
At this point, Meghan is probably panicking behind the scenes. This could be the end of their American dream. So, let's break it all down. Prince Harry's immigration scandal is getting bigger by the day. His visa documents are redacted. What is being hidden? Other celebrities were banned for drug use. Why not Harry? If he lied on his application, could he be deported? Is Meghan already planning life without Harry? At this point, the American people deserve transparency. The White House needs to stop protecting Harry and start telling the truth. So now the big question: did Prince Harry lie to U.S. immigration? Why is the White House protecting him? And will he ever be held accountable? Let me know in the comments.